Hey everybody, today we're going to be looking through Zeppelin and all the tips and tricks that I've learned. So let's jump into it. Right now we're looking at the dashboard. We're in the Mixer's admin site file right now. And at the top here we can navigate between our three different views. So we've got the dashboard view where we can see our sections and our screens in each section. Then we've got our flows in the middle here, similar to prototype view in Figma. And then we've also got our style guide. So the first thing I want to show you guys is in the flows. So right now we're in the flows. You can hold control and scroll your mouse wheel to zoom in and out. And you can also press and hold your space bar and drag to pan around the canvas. So we've got 4 different flows here. We can see them appear in their groupings, and if we click on them it will autofocus us in case we're zoomed out too much and we can't find it. If we zoom in on a screen, we can see that it's connected through these different arrows, so it helps us understand what each link does. So if I click on this forgot password, it should take me to the forgot password screen. If I want to get into the dashboard view of a screen, all I have to do is just double click the title here and it switches me into the screen view. So this is where I can see all the design specs and everything. And then I can click back here to come back to the flow. And notice here that we've got arrows connecting the different screens together. And if this one says, if we click this get link button, when the user clicks get link, it will take them to the confirmation screen here. So just remember that, and then when we click into the screen, those flow connections persist on the left and right side of our screens. So here was that one where it says if the user clicks the get link button, then it will take them to this page. So we can get back to our flow through this way as well. That's all I wanted to show you guys for flows. The next thing we're going to check out is our style guide. So if we go to our style guide, we can navigate through the menu here. So we've got all of our colors, and the benefits of this style guide in Zeppelin is that it pulls the exact things that are used in the designs. So I know sometimes I update hex codes without updating the labels in Figma, but in Zeppelin it just pulls exactly what's actually being used in the color style. So that's why it's really good to use Zeppelin as a reference rather than Figma. And it's got a CSS file of all of the colors here. You can also download extensions. They've got a ton of different coding extensions you can download for like SCSS and all sorts of different things, so check that out and it might be handy. On the left we've got our text styles, same as our color palettes. These are ones that are pulled directly from the styles, so if I've labeled anything incorrectly, this has got the true things and the true values for all the numbers and everything. And they've sorted them from biggest to smallest. So we've got like our display fonts, and then at the very end we've got our caption fonts here. Next we've got some spacing and layout tokens. This basically reflects the different color for the different spacings when you're on the dashboard screen looking at the spacing, so I'll point that out later on. But moving on to our components, these are where all the components live that have been uploaded. So like our input fields, buttons, things like that. You can even click on these different properties and it will update to just show you buttons that fulfill those properties. And you can do that for any component that has properties. If you click on a component, you might find a ticket to a Jira ticket. Dan has been connecting these components on this screen to different Jira tickets. And if you scroll down, you can see what pages each component is used in. So this is our page header. It's used in a ton of pretty much every single page on the admin site. But if we come down to a different component, like this status component, we can see that it's in quite a few pages as well. Or we can check out the tile image component. Let's see what this one's used in. It's used in all sorts of different pages. And if we click on to this page, it will take us again to the page in the dashboard, and then we can navigate back to our components through that top menu bar. So the thing about components is you can see design specs from here. So if I click into this, it's kind of like a mini dashboard screen where I can see different values and things like that. But we can't attach annotations from this component screen because you need the context of the actual screen that it's used in before you can make any annotations. But this is where you can find all your common components. Moving on to our dashboard, this is probably where you'll be spending most of the time in Zeppelin. We've got our sections all in line here. They're all collapsed. If there happen to be a ton open and it's kind of hard to navigate, all you have to do is click on this 3 dots and then click collapse all sections right here, so it's a bit more easier to navigate. You can sort your sections too by last updated or alphabetically, or you can even search per Jira issue. So if I need to see the one related to ticket 75, looks like it lives in this what's new section right here. Unfortunately, you cannot search by Jira ticket, and for some reason the numbers aren't sorted in number order, which is a bit silly, but this is just another way to find things. Then we've got this little icon right here where if you hover with your mouse, it'll pop out kind of a smaller view of all the sections, since as we can see, we can't see them all on a single screen. And we can just click onto this and it will navigate us to the proper section as well. And then we've got different searches. We can search for a specific screen here. So if I look up generic, it searches the section title as well as the individual screens. So if I search pop-up, it should show me everything with the name pop-up in there, which it does, which is great. But we'll clear this, and if we check out our sections, some of them have this blue icon with like the little flow chart. And what that means is it's got a flow associated with it in the flows page. So if I click that, I can click view and flow, and then it just takes us to the correct flow. So that's another way to navigate to there. Alright, so let's go and jump into a screen. So let's check out our login screen, forgot password page. So here we are on our admin screen, forgot password page. Looks like we've got an annotation here, which is another ticket. So you can see that we've got Jira tickets attached here, but sometimes we also link them in here just to make sure they're not missed. Dan and I are trying to figure out the best way to make things most easily accessible and visible for you guys. So if you have any feedback on what you think is the most helpful, we would love to hear your input. But anyway, on this design screen, let's check out our right sidebar. So this is really where a lot of our information populates. So we've got a share link, which if you click, it will copy to your keyboard automatically. You can copy the web link or the app link if you have the app downloaded, which I recommend just because it gives you a few more capabilities that the browser does not, which I'll point out later. Stage mode is new. It's kind of like a present mode, so I don't think you'd be using that very much. It's got the link to the Figma file that it was taken from or uploaded from, but we really want you guys to stay in Zeppelin rather than be in Figma, just because there might not be approved design changes in the Figma files, so we recommend just working off of the Zeppelin files. And again, any Jira tickets it's attached to. So if I click this, it will open the Jira ticket in my browser, which I can check out here. So it's the forgot password, and it's got you can navigate to the Zeppelin from the Jira ticket as well. So it's just many different ways to get the information you need. All the annotations will appear here. So this page is pretty low key when it comes to annotations. There's only a couple, but some of them will have quite a few. So you can sort them by the type, so only viewing requirements, or there's a couple different types that we typically use. And then you can also view comments. You can leave a comment by holding Control and clicking anywhere in the design, and you can say, you can tag people. So this is me, design. You can write a comment, you can attach photos to it, and I always try to get back to your comments as soon as possible. And I'll get a Slack notification typically, or an email for any comment that's left. If I don't reply within an hour or less, just ping me in Slack because I might have missed it. But tagging me also helps to make sure that I'll see your comment. So we're looking at our design now, and we're looking at our right sidebar. Okay, so our annotations, comments. Down here we've got some really cool sections. So this reusable components, if we click this, it will show us all the components from our component screen that I showed earlier from our style guide, and it shows us which of those components are used on this page. So we've got button, input field, featured image, and if I click on this, it will highlight where that component is on the page. And if we, let me do that again, if I click on this input field, for instance, a neat trick is this blue arrow. If I click this, it will take us to the component on that components page. But if I click this little like hamburger menu right here, it'll open this pop-up, and this pop-up will let me kind of fiddle with those properties. So I could say, oh, I just want to see what the disabled field looks like, or maybe I want to see what it looks like with the icon. So you can play around with these to check out the different states and variants that this component has, which might come in handy. And if you need to see design specs, you can just click in here, and then your right sidebar will change to reflect this design rather than the one that's right here. And once you're done with all the info you need, you can just exit that out, and then you're back in your main design file. All right, just like in flows, you can navigate the same way. So if I hold Control and scroll in and out of my mouse wheel, it will zoom in and out. If I hold spacebar, I can pan around the screen, but this one's a bit more constrained as far as the panning goes in case you're not zoomed in all the way. So it's a bit more difficult to get lost in these screens than it is in the flows section. All right, and the last thing I want to point out on this right sidebar for now is this assets section down here. This is super useful for exporting assets on a page all at once. So you can here download 6 bitmap images PNG format all at once, and it'll ask for like a folder to spit those images out in. Or you can download individual ones. So if I just wanted this mixer's word mark, which is used in this bar up here, I can select if I want PNG or SVG and then click download selected assets right here. Or if I want both, I can shift and then click the other ones, and then again fiddle with what file type I want for that. So this really isn't too bad when there's only 2 images here, but I'll show later on where you can have quite a few assets down here. So this is just a way to bulk export those assets, which is something that people ask me to do a lot, but this is a way that you can do it yourself, which is great. As far as images, it really works best for like icons and things like that. Sometimes there will be images like an image fill, but Zeppelin doesn't recognize that as easily, so that's where I would recommend going into Figma and exporting from Figma instead, which I'll make a separate video on how to do that, but just keeping in with Figma for now. Those are different things on our side panel. And now let's check it out what happens when I click onto an element in our design. So I've clicked onto this kind of gray half of the screen, and my right sidebar is changed to reflect the properties of this part of the screen. So it tells me if it's a component or not. Another way I can check for components is this little drop down menu right here. I can show components not connected to code. I think that has to do with the storybook integration, which we don't use currently. But anyway, it's just showing me those same reusable components here, but it's just highlighting them blue just so I can see them more easily, but I'll just hide those for now. So click back on here. And this just is full of information. So I'll explain from the top down. This top one has to do with like responsiveness. So it's telling me that the width is auto, width and height. So basically if I were to resize this screen, this gray section would resize just like how this animation, well, I guess it doesn't want to do it. But essentially the height and the width will resize if I were to resize this whole screen. And if I click onto this container, which has like the content of this page, it looks like this one maintains the same height, but that it becomes wider if the gray section becomes wider as well. So that's what this box is for, and the little animation to kind of help display that. And it also has, you know, the width and height set to auto here, but also gives you the pixel measurements as well as border radius, which doesn't really matter because this doesn't have a fill to it. This next part is super important too. If I hover over this orange section here, it will display for me the padding around this container. So this looks like it's 24 pixels all around. If I hover over the blue, it will highlight the gap. So it looks like 24 pixels as well, gap. So this just helps you visualize things more. What these gray rectangles represent is how my content inside of this rectangle resizes. So it's a mix of essentially things that stretch to fill the width and then things that are like a fixed width or hug their content. So pretty much everything in this box stretches to fill the width except for this bottom one. So that's why it shows us this mixed version, but I'll show you what it looks like when everything is set to fill the width. And it's also telling us that everything's supposed to be centered into this container as well. So this is centered and this is centered as well. That's just numbers and stuff. And then we've got CSS that's auto-generated by Zeppelin, as well as HTML. I don't know how useful this is, but again, you can add extensions. Oh, and looks like you can mess with all these different things if that's helpful. So as far as navigating in this goes, sometimes it can be tricky because we've got a lot of nested things, like we've got text boxes within this bigger box and stuff. So the way to navigate between layers is by right-clicking. So, but you can only navigate up from where you've right-clicked. So right now we're on this frame. If I go up a layer, it will select the parent, so which is this bigger gray rectangle. So I'll click that. So now I'm looking at the parent, the big gray rectangle, which I can tell because this is what it's highlighting for the padding, the gap. There's no gap. And I can go a layer up again, so I'll hit body. So that's what, now it's this whole bottom part, not including the header. And so, and see how the gray rectangles are now touching the sides flush. So that's representing that essentially all the content within this bottom part of the screen is going to stretch to fill the height. So that's representing, and width. So that's what our responsiveness kind of constraints are. Versus, see how it stretches to fill, and then this one's centered, so centered in this container, versus this one right here where we've got the mix of our gray rectangles. Another way to navigate our layers, if we click into the bottommost layer, we can see that if I click in the same spot, it will navigate automatically up the layers for me. So right now we're on button base. These are all our layers: primary, button, frame, H-tag, body, and then this is the whole frame. So if I'm just going to be left clicking into this, now I'm on primary button, and now I'm on this rectangle here. If I keep clicking here, now I'm on the body or H-stack. And if you just keep going, it'll just keep going till you're on the highest parent layer, and then if you click again, it'll take you back to the beginning. So I don't know if that's useful or not. I discovered that you could do that today. Just keep clicking and then it will cycle you through all of the parent components. So you might notice that this button base is a component. It's grayed out though because it's not uploaded into our component style guide because it's like a molecule component where the styling lives. But if you want to get to the primary button, which will show you what the component properties are, you just have to either click on the same spot or again right click and then navigate to the proper layer. And this is the one that has our states and everything that you can play around with and check out. Another cool thing I discovered about Zeppelin today is when you have text in a text box but the stylings are mixed, unlike Figma, Zeppelin will actually tell you what those mixed styles are. So if we come and look to our right sidebar here, it says it's a typeface, and then it looks like we use caption 1 regular in this product, purple dark color, and then we also use it in a pink color right here. And this one is shown by this blue highlight, so it's telling us, hey, this login is going to be like a span that we style differently. We style it with this pink color versus the rest of the text, which is this one right here. And it tells us, again, what our text style is from our typography, as well as the color name exactly with the proper hex code and everything. So that was pretty cool. So that's our basic overview. I know that was a lot of information, but if you just kind of click around, you'll find you have really all the information that you need, hopefully, with the designs in the right sidebar as well as any annotations that live on the page. So hopefully that we are able to communicate the function as well as how the styling should look. But let's look at the different things we've got going on at the bottom of our screen here. So again, if you control click anywhere on the design, and you can't do it in this white space, see I'm clicking and nothing's happening, you have to be in the design in order to leave a comment. You control click to do that, and then to post, you can hold control and hit enter to do it quickly. You can hide, and I have my little recording overlay right here, so I don't know if I'll be able to click this button at all. But anyway, the monkey lets you hide or show comments and annotations pretty quickly. And then the show all is another filter of filtering comments and annotations that you see on your screen. On this bottom left area here, I want to point out, we've got our version history here. So it looks like this screen hasn't been changed since it was first exported. And the version history also should have like a change message on what was changed for this design. So this one doesn't have one since it's the first one, but I'll point that out on a different screen. We've got zoom, so if you don't want to do control and then scroll your mouse wheel, you can manage your zoom through here. And again, toggle viewing components or not. This feature right here is pop screen out. It's only on the desktop app. This is what I think Dan is really going to like when it comes to QA, because if I click that, it will create a ghost version of this design in exact pixel measurements, and you can make it more opaque or more transparent and overlay it directly on top of the code or like the outputted code. So you can even check yourself and see how well your code is matching designs, which is pretty cool. And let's check out a page that's a bit crazier with more annotations. So I'm going to scroll to the products here, and let's check out the products page. So there's a lot of components here, so there's quite a bit more going on. So as you can see, we've got all of our annotations here. There's a lot more. You can sort them by type. So if I only want to see behavior annotations, I can do that. Or if I just want to see my requirements. And it looks like we've got 16 versions of this, so let's go back to the very beginning, check out what it looked like. So this was our initial design. It's even got a date, and sometimes Zeppelin gets a bit laggy. And it looks like, you know, all the changes that have been made have led to this version from today. So that's pretty cool. That's what the version history looks like. And then we can close that. And yep, that's pretty much everything I've learned about Zeppelin. So I hope this was helpful. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. So some of the screens, if we're looking in our sections view, some of them have this blue like layers with a number, and that is a screen variant. So it's basically like it's the same screen but like two different states of a screen, I guess you could say. So this is the unsaved version, so we can see it's got the unsaved changes header bar, and if I click this new variant, it's the exact same page but it's just showing us what it looks like when it's saved. So we've got the pink header instead. And sometimes there's multiple, so you might have to click the ellipsis and then see all the different kinds, but that's our screen variants. And I can't remember if I showed it earlier, but if we click on a component, which this header bar is one, we can also see right here which screens it was used in the project. So I can see all the different screens, and then if I want to check one out, I can just click it and it will take me there directly to it. So that was our Zeppelin tutorial. Thanks for watching. If you find any tips and tricks that I haven't highlighted, please let me know. I'm sure everyone would love to know how to get better at Zeppelin. And I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.